Thank you. Thank you, class of 2019. Thanks for that welcome, but really the rest of us should be applauding you. Give it up. I want to thank Dean Majewski for that kind introduction and for inviting me to be here today. As a part-time resident of Santa Barbara, I'm lucky that I get to stay close to this place and to be so involved and still involved on campus. I'm privileged to serve on the board of the Carsey Wolf Center, which is an amazing place for television, film, and media studies. Give it up for Carsey Wolf. It's close to my heart because that's where I've spent my career in television. It's really an honor for me to be here today, where I spent so many wonderful days soaking up the sun, doing my thing in Isla Vista, parties on Del Playa, and soaking up the wisdom of the great philosophers. And by that I mean the Beach Boys and the Grateful Dead. Now, I know some of you saw the program today and thought, Rick Rosen? We couldn't get Oprah or Kamala Harris or one of the 25 other people who are running for president. They'd love to have this captive audience. You may not know my name, but I'm a founding partner in the largest talent agency in the world. And that means that I've spent my career working with writers, actors, and artists to help fulfill their creative dreams. I've helped them put together TV shows on the air that you grew up watching, or maybe still watch. Shows like The Gilmore Girls, or Malcolm in the Middle, or Homeland. I've been lucky. I've been able to have a great career and make a good living doing something that I absolutely love. But I was not always that person with that career. It doesn't seem like that long ago that I was sitting right where you are, a graduate of UCSB, about to leave this beautiful place and set out into the unknown. I still remember how anxious I felt, how uncertain the future seemed. For me, UCSB was only the beginning of what has been a lifelong series of risks and rewards, trials and errors. Coming to UCSB in the first place was one such risk, especially for a teenager from New York. I was 3,000 miles away from home, far away from my family and friends. I'd never been to California before, let alone Santa Barbara. I signed up having only seen a black and white catalog of the school, not even a color photo, no tour of the campus, not even a t-shirt. But a professor that I knew told me about the great political science department at UC Santa Barbara. And it's fair to say I had a little bit of culture shock when I arrived here. Where I went to high school in New York, and I'm serious about this, I think there were like 3 blondes in my class, and I think they were related. I remember my first week here, I went to a Beach Boys concert at the Santa Barbara Bowl, and I witnessed a few thousand blonde heads jumping up and down to dancing to California Girls and Surfin' USA. And I remember that first week, I ate at the USEN and had an avocado and sprout sandwich on 7-grain bread. The first I had ever seen, let alone eaten, Sprouts, avocado, or 7-grain bread. California was another world. At school, I tried to find something that would anchor me and utilizing my studies in political science. In those days, I thought I'd go into politics. Growing up, I'd been a political junkie. And it was the Center for the Study of Democratic Institutions that existed here at UCSB that first tipped me off to the school. My interest in politics led me to spend the summer after my junior year in Washington as part of UCSB's Capitol Hill program to learn about our political system up close. when I got there, I heard a lot of talk about obstruction of justice, about high crimes and misdemeanors, obscure concepts that I'm sure you've never heard of today. It was 1974. It was the time of the Watergate hearings, and I was interning on the staff of Santa Barbara's congressman. Like the rest of Congress, he was listening to the Watergate tapes, working his way through the evidence. He struggled with what he heard and with the very harsh political climate of those days. I'll never forget the day that he called me into his office and told me to bring a pen and paper. He wanted me to draft a statement. He'd always defended President Nixon, but after some soul searching and really reading the evidence, he was going to call on the president to resign. And just like that, I found myself playing a small role in history, and it was thrilling. But I didn't end up pursuing a career in politics. I realized it just wasn't what I wanted to do. Instead, after I graduated, and at the urging of my dad, I headed to law school. It seemed like as good a place as any for an undecided political science major. And in law school, I found out that I was interested in everything except the law. But if I couldn't see a career as a lawyer, it's true. But if I couldn't see a career as a lawyer, what was I going to do? At the time, all I knew for sure was that I loved TV and I loved movies. So to my parents' chagrin, not only was I not going to be a lawyer, but I wasn't going to move back to New York. No, after law school, I wanted to follow my passion and try and start a career in Hollywood. In my heart, it just felt right. I love television. I love the stories that were being told. I love the shows like St. Elsewhere and Soap and countless others that I feel I probably shouldn't talk, it'll make me feel too old. But I got my first foot in the door job in business affairs at a motion picture studio. It was a great opportunity for somebody else, but not for me. I found out that I was much more interested in what was happening down the hall, in the creative departments. That's where the real magic seemed to be happening. I learned about the creative side of the business by working at 2 studios as a development executive. But I wanted to play a bigger role in bringing great stories to life, in bringing great talent and ideas together. I wanted to help guide careers. I had worked with agents, and I witnessed what they did, and I thought, I like what they do much more than what I do. So eventually, I got my chance. I got an offer from a big talent agency called ICM. And by this circuitous route, I became an agent at the young, ripe age of 40. Finally, I felt the pieces were coming together. I had a wonderful family, a comfortable life in the San Fernando Valley, and felt like maybe I just figured it out. But something was still missing. For months, my colleague Ari Emanuel had been running into my office and saying to me, Rick, we got to get the heck out of here. Only believe me, he didn't use the word heck. We both wanted a chance to do things differently, to do things better, to do things our way, to map out a different way forward for our clients and for ourselves. So along with 2 other partners, we left the security of our jobs and started our new endeavor. We were just 4 guys competing against large and well-established agencies. We had no money and very few clients. Our old bosses threatened to sue us. Our colleagues thought we were deranged. And some people thought we'd broke in a year. A small, tiny business competing against large, established firms. How did I know everything would work out? Truth is, I didn't. It wasn't the safe choice, but it was the right choice. We believed in ourselves, and we bet on ourselves. And I knew we were onto something because the first months of starting our business were probably the most exhilarating days of my life. There were no Sunday night blues. We just couldn't wait for Monday morning. Our business grew, and our reputations grew with it. And as was mentioned, after 14 years, we took over the venerable William Morris Agency, a 110-year-old Hollywood institution. And today, WME is the largest agency in the world. We started with 4 people, but today we're a media company with over 7,000 employees, with a portfolio that includes everything from talent to sports and even live events. From this position, I get to play a larger role in helping the best writers create great shows that become a meaningful part of our culture. I get to help build platforms for talent that truly endures. And as an agent, it's gratifying to help people solve problems, to take on the role of fixer. Though I've had to learn that sometimes you can fix things and sometimes you can't. But either way, you've got to try. And if you fail, you've got to try harder. And this is true in business, just as it's true in your personal life. You've got to be resilient, and you've got to tell the difference between what's truly important and what's not. Sometimes life gives you that lesson in a pretty tough way. About 10 years ago, one of my closest friends and clients was fired by his network in a very public way. It was on the front page of newspapers around the country and around the world. And I watched him handle the media attention and the personal disappointment with so much grace and dignity. That person was Conan O'Brien, who is so smart and so thoughtful, and who reacted without anger that most of us would have felt. It was such a pivotal moment in my life and my career, that moment of adversity, to work with Conan as he picked up the pieces and started anew. He showed me that even in such low moments, you can always rise above. He did not shrink in the face of adversity and disappointment. He challenged, took chances, and embraced change. And now, Conan's bigger than ever. On TV, on YouTube, on his Team Coco website, on tour, and his immensely popular podcast. Conan is where his fans want him to be, but more importantly, where he wants to be. And I've been lucky to get to live my dreams and to help others like Conan live theirs. But truly, today the most meaningful work I get to do is not with celebrities, but with children who start off life with fewer advantages than many of the rest of us had. As a board chair for the Alliance for Children's Rights, which helps children find foster homes and safe adopting families and health care. And with the Los Angeles Leadership Academy, a K-12 charter school in the Lincoln Heights neighborhood of Los Angeles, I try to do my part to give our young people a fair shot in life, no matter what neighborhood or what country they were born in. My grandparents were European immigrants to this country. They took the biggest risk of all, so their children and their children's children, like me, could have a better life. That's one more reason I think it's so important that we do the same for today's young people who risk so much to get here. And in that, I'm thinking in particular about the many young children who have come to this country so young, many of them who I've met in these 2 organizations. I believe it's vital that we provide these dreamers a pathway to citizenship and give them every opportunity to stay and succeed in the United States, just like my family had the chance to do. So graduates, as you go out into the world, I hope that you'll think about how you can lift up others and how you can speak up and advocate for people who need you. As I look back on my life and my career, I see that every time I felt unsatisfied with what I was doing, I took a chance on something new. and every leap of faith led me to where I am today. There were times I was comfortable, but not challenged. There were times I was well compensated, but uninspired. And I'd be willing to bet you're going to feel the same way at some point in your own career. Sometimes confused, sometimes uncertain. Finding the path that is right for you can take time. It can and will face obstacles and disappointment. But don't let that discourage you. Change is healthy. You won't know what's next because we can't know what's next. And in fact, you may feel these things even more acutely than I have. After all, your generation is entering the workforce at a time of unprecedented change and at lightning speed. In a world where everything's always changing, there is no sure path to success. But here's one sure thing I can share with you today. Any path to success involves taking risks. At Endeavor, one of the reasons we've been successful is because we've made taking risks part of our business strategy and our culture. We want everyone to feel the freedom to fail, to make mistakes, and to learn from them and to start all over again. We believe that errors of omission are much worse than errors of commission. So graduates, whatever you choose to do next, and next after that, I urge you to take chances. There will be failures alongside your successes, but your failures can drive your successes. You will always regret the dream you do not pursue. Be bold. Try new things. Don't let the fear of failure hold you back. But I urge you to embrace risks, embrace change, and be fearless in the face of them. And I'm here to tell you, you'll never regret it. Congratulations to the class of 2019 on all you're achieved, and even more on all you're about to achieve. Go Gauchos. Thank you.